Okay, let's guesstimate. I graduated from high school when I was in 2004. I think I was like 15 or 16. I don't know. And then I did 3 years of undergrad. So I graduated from undergrad in 2007. And then I graduated from dental school in 2010, at which point I was 23. So, yeah, I was pretty young, like, I was pretty young. Okay, so I'm gonna do this more in a casual story format. First thing is that I always knew I wanted to be a dentist, which is sort of the hardest part, is knowing whether you want to be a dentist and committing to it. So like, for example, my sister, she's a lawyer, but she changed her major so many times in college because she didn't know what she wanted to do. Me, on the other hand, I sort of like wanted to be a dentist ever since I was young. As you guys know, my mom is a dentist. She's a practice owner, and I would just go to her office and like watch her do stuff. And yeah, when all the kids on the playground were like, I want to be a pediatrician, I want to be a ballerina, I was like, I want to be a dentist. I don't think anyone really knows whether they're going to like dentistry coming out the other end of school. And so unfortunately, you have to invest all this time and money into an education for a profession that you may or may not be naturally good at and may or may not actually like. And then on top of that, you may or may not be successful in business. So those are all things that I think a lot of people are considering nowadays when going into school, but those are not the things that I considered when I was younger. Like, I kind of went into this whole thing blind, which is good and it's bad. It's not good because I had no idea what $350,000 of student loans meant back in the day. Like, I was just like, well, that probably is a lot of money, but like, I don't think my mom and dad would let me go into a profession knowing that it's gonna cost that much if it wasn't worth it, or if I couldn't pay it back. Like, so that's sort of the thought I had behind it. I really, really applaud a lot of students for considering this, because had I known that how much money that actually is, who knows, I may not be a dentist here. When it came down to applying for colleges, I applied to a few like UCs that I knew I could get into. Actually, I didn't even get into some of the ones that I expected to get into, but the #1 school I wanted to get into was UOP. UOP is University of the Pacific, and I wanted to go there specifically because I wanted to be in the 3+3 program. So back in the day, I think the 3+3 UOP program was like this hidden gem that only daughters and sons of dentists really knew about. I mean, nobody really knew what it was, even though it existed. Only if you were somehow tied to the dental field or somehow had some sort of in, would you know that that program exists. So I would say it was a lot less competitive back then than it probably is now, I'm assuming. But I actually got into UOP in the 4+3 program. So that means that I would do 4 years of undergrad in Stockton at the Stockton campus, and then the 3 is the 3 years of dental school. And remember, I was saying dental school is usually 4 years. So this is a very, very accelerated program. What I ended up doing, even though I got in as a 4+3, mentally, I just changed myself to a 3+3. I did not want to stay in Stockton for 4 years and do undergrad. I wanted everything to be as accelerated as possible. So I scheduled all my classes in undergrad so that I could graduate within those 3 years. And now, there are a lot of sacrifices that I made to do that, and also it's great because, you know, the campus is in Stockton and there's not that much to do. I really just wanted to get to my end goal. It was always like end in sight, end in sight, end in sight. I'm just a really tunnel vision person, and what can you do about that? There are a lot of challenges of being a 3+3. The first is that you have to really plan out all of your classes really well, because if you get to your 3rd year and you're in that last semester of school and you still need histology as a course and it's not offered, you're screwed. You're staying another semester. The other thing that was really, really hard is that I didn't get to do anything really fun. Like, if I could go back, I would really have joined like a sorority. I was in a chemistry fraternity, but it's not the same thing. Let's be real here. It's not the same thing. And then the other thing is I would have really studied abroad. And that actually, within those 3 years, I did plan to study abroad. It was all planned out. But what happened for me is that I had to take this histology class, and I signed up for it, but that teacher, the professor, ended up passing away suddenly, and that class was no longer offered that semester, which really screwed up my whole plan. I had to take that class at a different time during the summer when I should have been studying abroad, and so I didn't get to do that. But it's something that I really wish I would have done, and unfortunately it wasn't in the cards for me. The other thing that's really hard is taking the DAT. What's hard about being a 3+3 and taking the DAT is that sometimes you haven't completed all your courses yet, the courses that you're being tested on. For example, I think I had a good 3 weeks of organic chemistry under my belt before I took the DAT. And one section of the DAT is organic chemistry. And I really didn't know a lot of organic chemistry. So basically had to teach myself enough organic chemistry to pass the DAT. So I just used my Kaplan book and then the basic principles that I had learned from the first 3 weeks of organic chemistry and got a 25. So I mean, it's doable, but there's a lot of teaching yourself that has to happen, and it's not the best case scenario, because the best case scenario is if you took organic chemistry and then you took organic chemistry on the DAT. That's a best case scenario, but you have to be ready to jump ahead, even though it may not be fair. Life's not fair. One of the things I look back on that you really can't put a price on is having like a pre-dental bestie, and my pre-dental bestie was Dr. Justin Le, and he was like, I think everyone thought we were dating, which we were not, but we just like did everything together. And it was one of those things where like, I was the type of person where I would outline everything and then go to class, stay awake, and then take notes and come back. And he would be sitting right next to me and he'd like doze off and wake up, but somehow he could absorb the information much more quickly than me, even though I took all these notes. So part of our relationship, it was just a very symbiotic, friendly relationship where we would help each other out. Like, not because like that was our role or anything, it was just like what we would do. Like, for instance, I would call him in the morning. We'd take all the same classes together, by the way. I would call him in the morning and I would wake his butt up and we would meet and we would go to class. That way he's going to class every day. He would sit right next to me and I would take all the notes, and then later on we would study and I would be like trying to read my notes and not really understanding it. I'd be like, hey, what does this mean? And he'd be like, oh, it means blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, how do you know that? You didn't even stay awake during lecture. So in that way, we really helped each other. Like when I didn't understand something, he would help me. And when it came to things that were kind of like easy things for me, like waking someone up, kind of like babysitting duties, that was easy for me and that was my way of contributing. And I think when you have like a pre-dental bestie, like we joined a chemistry frat together, we did so many things together. Yeah, he was just like one of my best friends, and I felt like, you know, we just had each other's backs when it came to not just friend stuff, but school stuff, and that's really nice to have. And yeah, we ended up going to dental school together, and we ended up having kind of different friends, but still hanging out with each other. Like he was there when I turned 21, and he's actually the one that carried me home. After a few shots, I was just gone because I pretty much turned 21 in dental school and didn't really have that same college experience that everyone else had. I was just, gotta give it to him. He almost, actually, funny story, he almost got pulled over. Well, he did get pulled over by a cop because he was like, he flung me over his shoulder. I was gone, I was dead. And he was trying to take me back to my apartment. And he got pulled over by a cop over there, and the cop was like, hey, and I think the cop, he was telling me the cop thought he was like gonna do something bad to me. And thankfully he was like right across the street from my apartment, and he called my roommate and was like, can you come down and vouch for me, please? And she came down and like all that. But poor guy, like I threw up on him. Pre-dental besties are the best. Pre-dental besties are the best. Let's backtrack a little bit. When I got into dental school, I was so sheltered. I just like clung on to Justin Le. I was like, I don't know any of these people, they're all so much older than me. Like I felt kind of a fish out of water. And all the moments and opportunities that we had to meet other people were all in clubs or bars, and I wasn't 21 yet, so I didn't really get to join everyone. So those nights I would just study. I kind of had FOMO, and I'd just sit there and I'd study, and I'd be like, oh, I'm just gonna kill this test. I'm gonna ace this test. So yeah, I did really well in my classes in the beginning, but what ended up happening is that at UOP, since it's a 3-year program, it's really starting to like pile on the classes. It got harder and harder for me to do well, especially with having a social life. So my social life, I really capped it at one day. Friday was the only night that I went out. Saturday, I would basically wake up at 7, go to the library. Well, my friends were actually able to get up, go to brunch, eat lunch together, and then maybe study a little bit. They had a lot more balance than me, but because of like this personality that I have, I needed everything to stay like really structured. Otherwise, I could easily get distracted and have fun, but I missed out on a lot of things that my friends did. They would play like beer pong together, and I'm not really into that stuff. I would go run outside instead of play beer pong. I wouldn't join them for a lot of lunches and dinners because I also wanted to save money because I had student loans, and a lot of people at UOP are not on student loans. Their parents paid for them. So that was very important to me to maintain all of my loans at a good standing and to budget and manage my money very well. And what I realized is my friends are a lot more bright than me, and that's why they could do it. For me, the way that I studied in undergrad, which is I took the time to outline and do this and this and this and this, you can't do that in an accelerated program. You just don't have the time. You either have to like absorb it or you don't. So it was kind of too late for me to learn a new learning style and to embrace it. I did my best. I tried as much as I could, but once all the classes piled up, I just had to pick and choose what was most important. And thankfully, I passed. Those are some of my experiences of dental school, undergrad, graduating as a 23-year-old dentist, good and bad. So if you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. My next video that I'm thinking is I want to go over some of my failures that I experienced while going through the process, because I have at least 3 that are major that I want to let you guys know, because I didn't just cruise through school. I wasn't just like the smartest kid in the class. I really struggled in many ways, and I came out the other end, and you sort of forget that there are ups and downs to every journey. I don't want people to think I was just like this perfect kid that just made it through school with straight A's. Like, that's just not the case. There's a lot of effort, a lot of bad things that happened, and a lot of things where I had to rise to the occasion to get what I wanted, which was my DDS.